Congratulations! You are at the right place at the right time to start your day with a lightning bolt of energy. Most news programming, morning talk shows, or other podcasts are not launching you into your day or accessing even a fraction of your greatness and potential. If you want more money in less time with more magic, and if you want to find what works to scale your sales and business with the actionable formula of formulas, then the Unblinded Huddle is the #1 way to start your day with an infusion of integrity-based human influence. With your host, Sean Callagy, and the Unblinded team, and the entire Unblinded movement.
What is happening, Unblinded ecosystem? I hope all of you had a magical weekend this weekend in whatever way you create magic. I'm sure it was magical for a lot. Hopefully time with family, time of reflection, relaxation, preparation, as it's crazy to believe this is the final week before our halfway mark to 2020. And I'm sure we can all agree that 2020, none of us expected to be the way it was outside of this pandemic, UFOs being real, and many other things that are happening around the world. We're stepping into incredible challenges, possible challenges in the world of self-mastery, in which our self-mastery might be in question and in thought and in shaking. And that's why we're here. We're here to connect every single morning for hands down the best way to start your day with a dose of integrity-based human influence, where we discuss our formula. And for everyone that is new here, welcome. And for everyone that is regularly attending, we honor and respect you. Mr. Callagy, what is happening, sir?
Yeah, hey, good morning to everybody. Happy Trajectory Tuesday. Ready to rock and roll for those that are in mastery. The module will be going up today. And, thank you for your patience with that. And yeah, it's Trajectory Tuesday. So we just came off the mastery call. We are deep into the acceleration of the 10 by 10, also known as the UBA, also known as the Unblinded Business Accelerator. And there were some questions about drafts and participation and dynamics. So Fernando, and I'd say let's bring Adam live as well. There are questions about, hey, like in the draft, and I already have a team going. Ron was just asking some questions. And if we could bring Ron live, I think that would be terrific. But anybody who has questions about the draft, about what's occurring, let's drop them into the chat. If this is your first day on the huddle and you're like, what are we talking about? What we're talking about is the mechanism by which we most optimally grow our business, which is the merging of ecosystems based in integrity and accelerating the quantity and quality of our sales meetings, and therefore sales, and therefore disposable income, and therefore contribution. And in each of the teams now, we're introducing to the things you're going to be measuring, contribution as one of those dynamics and elements. And we'll talk about how that contribution piece will work, freedom of choice. The hallmark of your 10 by 10s and this entire program is freedom. So freedom to work with the people you want to work with, freedom to accelerate in the way you want to accelerate, freedom in all ways, right? This doesn't cost anything. Unblinded is not receiving a share of the work you do together. We win because we're creating a structure, we're adding massive value, and there's things that we can provide to support all of you, many of you in our programs already. And that's how, we win, first of all, by doing good in the world, right? Because it's like, do good is the beginning. Like, do good is the beginning. And then we win. You win. Everybody wins. So said simply, the hallmarks of the 10 by 10, the connectivity of the 10 by 10 is the formula and is how much value you add to your team and to the people you're leading. That's it. So I don't know, do we have Ron? Ron, if you wouldn't mind raising your hand.
Yeah, okay. Ron, if you can go unmute. We also have Adam here as well, Mr. Callagy.
Okay, and I think, so Adam and Fernando, I think a key piece now, we talked about advocating for the in the second round, like the initial 10 and 10, those folks drafting mastery students, like at least 2, I think would be a very strong and important move for those teams. We're not going to force anybody to do anything, but we're highly advising, right? They don't have to, nobody's punished. There's no politics, but highly encouraging. And then as we go forward, then the same thing in round 3. So Ron, how are you? Good morning.
I'm doing great. Good morning.
Hey, good morning. So your question earlier that we're in the midst of answering, I think was seeded in like, what if you're doing things already? Like, are you part of a 10 right now, or you're leading a 10? Like, where are you right now?
So I am working on building my own 10.
Yes.
And that's its own story, but I'm also part of someone else's 10, and we have already started doing some stuff. So I have one team that is meeting that I'm a part of, and we are launched, and I have my 10 that, to be honest, is not as launched as the other one. But I'm involved in 2 already, and I understand the recommendation that there's only so much you can do, and I am certainly feeling that as well. So I want to understand, how does this fit into the big picture of Team Lightning and Team Thunder, who are going to do their drafting in the next week or 2?
Yeah. So let me ask this, Ron. So remember, the outcome is to be part of a 10, and you're leading a 10, and that sounds like where you are right now. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. Does that make sense to you, what I just said? Part of a 10 and leading a 10, or it doesn't make sense fully?
Yes, it does. It does. Perfect sense.
Okay. So, and then everybody is going to be part of a 100 and leading a 100. So everybody's part of a 10, leading a 10, part of a 100, leading a 100. Are you with me so far?
I am with you so far.
Okay. So the way that, to me, that would, so you're not part of 2 10s, you're only part of 1 10, and you're beginning to lead your own 10. That's where you are right now. Is that correct or not correct?
Exactly. You're right on. Okay.
So the way that would fit in is, whoever is the 10 you are a part of, my hallucination, it sounds like they're doing a beautiful job, right?
Yes.
And I don't, would you want to share? I don't think there's any.
Yeah, and she's doing a beautiful job.
Yeah, amazing. So what would happen is then Shuling would, and I think that's already in conversation, she's doing an outstanding job. Shuling would very much, it would make sense that she would be a draft pick in this next round, which would then make you part of the 100.
Perfect.
So let's assume, right? Let's assume there's Dimple, right? Make up a name, right? So let's say, or Rob Gill, right? So let's say, and or any of these other amazing people. Courtney Epps, right? Let's go Courtney Epps. Courtney Epps drafts Shuling. Shuling says yes. She doesn't have to say yes, right? Right. It's her choice. But let's say she says yes to Courtney Epps. Now you're part of that Courtney Epps 100.
Perfect. Got it.
And now what makes this, I had this conversation for about 2 hours yesterday with my son, Tyler. And we were having a conversation about all these dynamics, and because I want him to begin to build his 100, his 10 and his 100 with young people, right? And maybe not all young people, and begin to build his own business and his relationships, right? And so sitting down, I was explaining to him that he's like, okay, so then I would be like part of Fernando's 1,000. And I'm like, no, like Fernando doesn't have a 1,000. Like, and it's not.
Because it cuts off at 100.
Yeah. Cuts off at 100. So it's not about like who is ultimately the source. Like, yes, you're on Team Lightning or Team Thunder, right? You have 2 teams, right?
Right.
So, and maybe eventually there's a 3rd and 4th team. I don't know. Like, I don't think that would make sense, but because it doesn't really matter unless there's somebody with like a different name. We can talk about that. But it's not like you came into the game late. right? So I want that to land for everybody. This is not the same. And I'm not, again, I use network marketing, and I understand compensation plans and network marketing probably at a level 5 on a scale of 1 to 10 optics. So this is in no way, in any shape or form, being a critical, but it's not the same dynamic, let's say, as being in somebody's downline. So yes, so let's say it's you, Ron. Mm-hmm. So let's just use you and say that you have your 100 and somebody in your 100 is getting their 10. They are not in Ron's 1,000, yes. Right? So they don't have even optics to Ron, right? It's all about part of a 10 leading a 10, part of 100 leading 100. Now let's be super clear, and I want you to ask whatever questions you have in a minute, Ron. Mm-hmm. And this is for everybody. What is so pivotal is that the concept and theory that we are advancing, and it has been the story of my life and the lives of many people who've been successful, right? Is that I think if built optimally, if you, with ethics, hire fast and fire fast, right? You have the capacity, where there's alignment, right? To have your 100s, your 100 be so much more effective for your business than if somebody had 1 million Instagram followers. I'm positive, right? Because the idea isn't about followers. That's not what galvanizes success. It is the depth of the relationship and the clarity of the agreements. So, for example, instead of you having a million Instagram followers and being limited by Instagram as you project out your content, and by the way, Chris Crone's a dear friend of mine, and the reason that we created proximity, and we're working on building a relationship between proximity and Unblinded, right? But the reason that was created is because of the friction, Ron and everybody, that exists between people on YouTube, people on social media platforms for reaching their quote unquote followers. And so the people that are in your 100, they're not your followers. They're your direct business partners and your extended business partners, where you're galvanized together to help each other. You're not showing pictures of yourself in a cool jacket to get likes. You're teaching, sharing, training, adding value, and leading that group. Otherwise, Ron, they're going to want to leave your group, or you want to leave theirs. They don't do that for you. So it's about value adding partnership. And what we're disrupting, what we are disrupting, right, is the dynamic that this is how many followers do you have? That's what my kids say. And that's what maybe people in Fernando's generation say. But Fernando, you get this, right? In 2 sentences, why do you think it's better to have your 100 with the right people than 1 million followers?
In 2 sentences is because, one, I tried the other method and it was very ineffective, had no leadership, was very non-directional. And the reason why this makes a lot more sense is because this is real ecosystem merging. A true influencer is not measured by the number of followers, but by the integrity-based influence they have over a group of people. I'd rather have integrity-based influence over 50 people than someone who has a following of 1 million in which less than 1% of them engage.
Yeah. And so, Ron, you want to share any questions or maybe what you're hearing, anything that was insightful for help you this morning, just so you can speak on behalf of yourself and everyone.
Yeah, absolutely. So first off, this brings incredible clarity to the discussion. I understood part of a 10 leading a 10. I even understood part of 100 in the context of if Shuling, for example, were to be drafted, I would be part of the 100 that person drafted by drafting Shuling. So I understood that. I also understood the idea of leading 100 if, for example, I were to have 10 and then those 10 had 10. What I did not understand was if, for example, I were drafted directly by someone on the 10 and I get a 10, where then did the 10 that my people get? So this makes perfect sense. It's basically wherever you are, you're part of a 10, part of 100, leading a 10. I'm sorry, part of a 10, part of a leading a 10, part of 100, leading 100. It's based on where you are in the picture. And that is actually perfect clarity. So thank you for helping explain that.
Yeah, no, thank you, Ron. And you know, we're always, this is, it is not at all complicated, but nothing really is. Like understanding how to turn your television on could be complicated. Like learning to drive a car, but once you're driving, like you don't even pay attention. So this is just a super simple and effective way to accelerate and grow business. And you know what's pretty cool and remarkable? I was reading a book. I've been reading a book by a gentleman who was on The Real Raw, and he was on The Real Raw, and he has a really cool show, The Daily Dose, and his name is Michael Mayer, and he is somebody that Jared had known and had a relationship with, right, and introduced. And so in reading his book, it is so cool, because he's I think a person, at least my experience so far has been a person of like real integrity-based influence, not using that language, but a lot of the concepts we're talking about here are rooted in some of the concepts he's teaching. Now, I think there's some pieces that we're missing there. Like it's not as structured. He talks about networking and there's some random nature to it, but his work, to me, at the very least, stands for the proposition that randomized networking and the giving of value to people is superior, dramatically superior to other forms of marketing, including advertising. And he doesn't say social media posting, and I'm not saying not to post on social media, but I'm saying it's dramatically inferior, right, in terms of its effectiveness. It's like making sure you at least have clothes on before you walk outside, like, right? And then you can talk about how nice your clothes are, but that's not gonna develop ecosystem merging. It's like a necessary part of it, but that would, you know, saying your social media posting is a marketing tool would be the equivalent of saying how you dress is going to create ecosystem merging. Like, yeah, it's necessary, but it's not even the beginning of the beginning. Does that land wrong?
Oh yeah, totally.
Yeah. Okay. So, Ron, do you have, oh, go ahead. Who had something?
I want Ron to finish, and then I see Brian McCann has his hands up. We got about 11 more minutes. Want to see if we can tag him in.
Yeah, Ron. So, anything else for you?
He's currently muted.
Cool. Okay. Adam, real quick, are you there? He's not there.
Adam's here. He's in muting. There he is.
Okay. So, anything about this that is not clear for you?
Everything is clear. I think I wanted to also just reiterate what Fernando said, and why Schuling is having so much success is through the method of integrity-based human influence. And when you have a group of 10 and then a group of 100 that are living in that space, the relationships are so much deeper. Emotional rapport is built in such a way that massive acceleration will happen.
And thank you, Schuling, for taking action. You know, thank you, Schuling, for the generosity and love in your heart. There is such an emotional depth and connectivity to Schuling. Thank you for that. Awesome. So let's bring Brian up.
Yeah, it turns out I just got a second note that it was a mistake, but hey, you know what? It looks that Brian did not put his hand up. That was an accident. So do we still want to throw him on, or would you like to take us home, Sean?
Yeah, no, Brian, just come on for a minute. Let's have Brian come on for a minute, because he's a good check-in to see where his understanding is, please, if you wouldn't mind, Brian.
Great. So as Unblinded team supports, let's throw Brian McCann out here. Give you a few seconds, Sean. I'll let you know when he's here.
Okay, Fernando, do you have any questions?
Right now, I do. It's further in the process than where we are, and I wouldn't want to jump there.
Got it. So what I would say is a major priority for this week is to have the 10s on Team Lightning and Thunder solidified, as well as their drafting, having their draft, and having mastery students included. I think the absence of mastery students on their team would be an objective error on their part, because they don't have the same optics on the formula, and having that validation in the groupings, I think, would be an incredibly important and valuable thing for them.
I agree. And we have been positioning on both Team Thunder and Team Lightning. Both teams have done an exceptional job of drafting mastery students, which is incredible. And that's only going to continue as we focus on our 100 now. So that has been present in there.
Yeah. And just so
we have Brian. Yep.
Yeah, I'm going to go to Brian second. Just so everybody's clear, the first grouping is, the original 10 and 10. The second grouping, is 100 flying folks. The third grouping is 1,000 in Team Lightning and Thunder. And Ron is already playing at that level, right? Like, so, you have, let's assume that initial member of Team Lightning 10 drafts Schuling. Schuling says yes, right? That's the group of 100. Ron is in the group of 1,000. And the people that Ron is having his team are in the group of 10,000. So that is how rapidly things are coming together for people. But none of that matters other than knowing that there's a galvanized ecosystem of people that'll be on the huddles you're alluding to. You can always do business with other people elsewhere, but your like zone action sits in the space of building your 10, being part of a 10, leading a 10, part of 100, leading 100, and then measuring 6 things. We're going to keep repeating this: the number of ecosystem mergers, your number of speaking engagements, rating the quality of both, the number of your sales meetings, rating the quality of both, the amount of your sales, and so we said sales meetings, the income from your sales, and the contribution, like how much you're contributing, what causes, charities, your 10 that you're leading is about, and the 10 you're a part of. So, Ryan, how are you?
I'm good, Sean. How are you?
I'm good, brother. Happy Memorial Day weekend. How was your weekend?
It was good. It was good. Had a good time, spent some time with the family, so it was nice.
Cool. So, how are you doing with your 10 by 10, and what questions do you have? I know you didn't raise your hand, but like,
good. Yeah, that's fine though, but good with the 10 by 10. I mean, I had a conversation with Fernando yesterday, which I think was, enlightening to me, because, when we put together our 10, it was, get 10, it was before a lot of the optics were clear on what that 10 should look like. So I got 10 people without really understanding, the roles that each of these 10 people might play. You might need a validator, you might need this. And in a conversation with Fernando yesterday too, he mentioned what you just mentioned, that, if you have space, if you have 1 or 2 people that are still available, or if you have an open slot, use that for mastery students, because if you don't have mastery students, you might not have, the knowledge of the formula, or people that are committed to the formula that can help your other 7 or 8 or 9 people understand it better. So I thought that was, that was a key element that, I wasn't thinking of when we put together the 10 initially. So I think, for everybody's benefit for these calls to listen, obviously listen to what you're saying in terms of building out your 10 and including mastery students in that 10, especially if you already had a 10 before, gaining a better understanding of what that 10 should look like.
Awesome. And I would say, Brian, key is to also remember that you can add value for people like that are becoming parts of the 10s and 10. So if you have folks that you don't know will directly help you, you could also support and value other people, saying, hey, I think this will be a good person for you to work with. So,
yeah, I mean,
right.
we've been doing that. Fernando and I talked about that. Even people that I didn't draft that are not on my team, I'm already saying, listen, there is somebody on my team that maybe you should talk to. And, you know, I've had conversations with like Jay Levine saying, listen, you know, I know a couple of guys that may be very beneficial to you. Why don't we try and connect, even though, you know, I'm not on your team, you're not my team, but I can definitely see some value to you. So that's obviously, I think, part of this whole 10 by 10 and the whole community in general is this is your 10 by 10 is it's, you know, while it's competitive, we're all here to make everybody better and add value to everybody.
Yeah. And that's the story, brother. That's influencers influencing influencers to make the world a greater place. Right. So,
Absolutely.
and then for everybody, I would just seed this. There will be 80 slots in June to do a Real Raw, and the Real Raw Open. Those Real Raw Opens are going to look that I will facilitate. And those Real Raw Opens are going to look like three judges and 10 participants, right? 3 judges, 10 participants. So begin to think about dates, and that will be a great way to bring your 10 together. It would also be a great way if there's spots open in your 10, or to support people that would be in your 10 that are building their 10. So there's a lot of different ways to think about it, but we're now seeding. We've been talking about it, but I want to let that seed begin to grow a bit. So begin to think about a date. And the way I've built everything in my life post ecosystem merger has been designed around picking a date and going. So my suggestion is pick a date, right? The dates are going to go. Pick a date. And the Real Raw Open slots are going to go to the people who pick them in order. So pick a date. We'll have a calendaring system set up shortly. For now, you can communicate that mechanism, you know, into the Unblinded email world, and or if you happen to talk to Fernando or Adam, if you're having a conversation with them. But I would, Brian, like, you know, and I'm now speaking as a business owner of Callagy Law as well, like, just to tell you my belief in these structures, everyone, I will be advocating very strongly for people at Callagy Law, as I am for mastery students, as I am for everybody, to get it going and to pick your dates and do your raw. It's going to integrate people into the formula. It's going to help people begin to understand more deeply. It's going to disrupt knowingness around their influencing skill set. It's going to do all the things it's doing for incredible and unbelievable people. And so, you know, there'll be each day, there'll be 4 slots besides the Real Raw Open, besides the Real Raw. So pick your date, begin assembling your 10, and it's going to be an amazing galvanizer. And for your primary business as well. You know, it deepens connect, it does all the things we talked about. So with that said, Brian, any final questions?
No, I'm good. Thanks.
Okay.
Awesome.
So,
Sean, is it cool if I share a few things before I kick it to you for final?
Yes.
Great. So we do have a Real Raw role play coming up today at 3:00. And today's interesting because both of them have the word influence in like their job description. So we have 2 gentlemen who have been top salespeople for the world of Tony Robbins. We have Robert Monaco, public speaking consultant, professional speaker, storyteller, and influence specialist, chief presentation officer of Influenceology. And then we have Eli Wild. He helps coaches and consultants with sales and systems to have more of an impact, influencer, keynote speaker, and coach. And he's also an entrepreneur of Wild Influence. So that's happening today at 3:00. You can see the link in the chat. Feel free to join us as we have 3 amazing influencers in Sean, Roberto, and Eli going off on an influence off. So that's happening today at 3:00. Link is in the bio. Sean, back to you for final.
So yeah, for tonight, we also have the 8 p.m. And tonight I want to open it up to covering, this is for mastery students, any questions we have around the topics that were open today, but also to talk about self-mastery and time blocking. So the time, you know, questions come up, but I want to evaluate time blocking as well as your self-mastery and touch on influence mastery about how this is communicated and making sure that you're not over-explaining, that you're not getting yourself into dynamics, and you're bringing in validators effectively. So all those things to be discussed more tonight. Thank you everybody for being here today. Have an amazing Trajectory Tuesday. And thank you, Lorelei Moriano, for being source, at least to my understanding, on the folks that are coming on for today. So thank you. Have a beautiful day.
Thank you, everyone. Please submit your questions early. Go to questions@unblindedmastery.com. Submit them early. That way we can track them, organize them, and more importantly, go through them all. So please do not wait. You can wait if you want to. Please submit your questions at questions@unblindedmastery.com. This is for all our master students. See you tonight at 8 o'clock. Bye-bye.
Now it's time to break through and crush fear and distortion. What is the one zone action step that will help you most today to make more money in less time and with more magic, and contribute value to the Unblinded ecosystem? After you crush it, then head over to our private Facebook community at www.unblindedmovement.com to share your big win for the day. If you feel great about the Unblinded Huddle, please share your win for today and any questions you may have for us, along with a 5-star review so we can reach more like-minded people like you. And if you have not already subscribed, please visit www.unblindedhuddle.com to be part of our live ecosystem audience for each morning huddle so that we can help you see what you don't see about the fun, excitement, and magic of exponentially growing your sales.